Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel and welcome to a new episode of my comic book movies retro review series. Yeah, so today we're going to be taking a look at the movie Vampirella. Let's do it. Okay, yeah, so if you're not aware, I've started this series of videos. I'm trying to do them bi-weekly. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at comic book related films that came out prior to the MCU, to the DCEU, or whatever it is they're deciding to do now. And going back to and looking at those films that are forgotten from the past, when comic book movies weren't taken seriously, no one wanted to star in them. Movie companies didn't want to produce them and all this sort of thing. So yes, so Vampirella. Now Vampirella, this movie came out in 1996 with a 15 rating and an 82-minute runtime with an aspect ratio of 1.33 to 1. Yes, now Vampirella is a comic book that has been around since the 1960s, and it was created by an individual called Forrest J. Ackerman, a very popular comic book that has gone on for years and years and is still very prominent today in the comic book world, published by Dynamite Comics. It has gone through several publishers. Now, when this film came out, it was under Harris Comics, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to sit down and watch it. Now, I am very much familiar with the character of Vampirella. I do have comic books and graphic novels with the character in. This reprints stuff, but this came out during the Dynamite era and this sort of a thing. Yeah, I do have a lot of Vampirella related books and a statue as well, which I might show at some point. Now, I thought I'd sit down and watch a film, like I said, which I have here on a Region 1 import DVD, which I believe is actually quite hard to get a hold of now. It's quite expensive online. So yeah, so like I said, this film came out in 1996, which is quite surprising really, but I'll come on to that. Now the film stars Talisa Soto in the title role of Vampirella. Talisa Soto you would know as an actress from the first Mortal Kombat movie, and she was in James Bond with Timothy Dalton, License to Kill. She was one of the Bond girls in that. The film also stars Roger Daltrey, who, I hear you say, directed by Jim Wynorski and produced by Roger Corman. Yes, now that name, Roger Corman, is synonymous with cheap movies. And this film only had a budget of approximately $1 million. Not a lot at all. Like I said, 1996. Wow, amazing. Anyway, so Vampirella. Let me read you a story synopsis on the back of the box. So, dark, mysterious and sensual, Vampirella, Talisa Soto, is a princess from the planet Draculon. Like all vampires, she needs blood to live, but she will not kill to get it. A synthetic substitute keeps her alive. After journeying across space and time, seeking vengeance for her father's brutal murder, she now finds herself on Earth in Los Angeles, where her enemy Vlad, played by Roger Daltrey, has disguised himself as a rock star. In order to stop Vlad's doomsday plan for world domination, Vampirella must make dangerous alliances with a group of high-tech vampire hunters. It's a race to stop the apocalypse of humanity, and our fate is in the hands of the fiery, dangerous and beautiful Vampirella. So there we go, there we have it. That's your story synopsis for this film. So yeah, so this film starts off, like it says there, on the planet of Draculon, where we find Vlad impaled. We find Vlad, who's imprisoned, and he gets taken to this council of vampires who want to rid the planet of him. They want to, you know, because he's not very good. He feeds on other individuals. Now, the vampire society on this planet is peaceful. They don't kill and drink blood. They are there as a happy society, because the rivers flow with a sort of blood that they can live upon. So, but Vlad escapes. He manages to kill Vampirella's father, who's the head council leader. Along with his goons, they take a ship and they travel to Earth. But Earth's past. Vampirella chases after them because she essentially gets stuck on our planet of Mars, you know. And it isn't until we as humans visit Mars that she stows away on a spacecraft and comes to Earth. And this is centuries later. Centuries have passed. Hence why Vlad has been on Earth for as long as what he has. But now he's disguised as a rock star, Roger Daltrey, who... yes, so I don't know if that was Roger Daltrey's wishes, but if they wanted to play into his... what he is. But anyway, so Vampirella comes to Earth... stowed away on this spaceship, and she ends up befriending these vampire hunters, who one of them in particular who's who's related to Van Helsing and all this nonsense. They don't trust her, some of them, but they end up trusting her because they need her to save the day, blah 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 blah. So there we go. So like I said, this film is cheap. $1 million is nothing when it comes to making a film. In fact, when you consider this film was made in 1996, it feels like and looks like it was made in the mid-80s. It does. It's very, very cheap. The transformations into bats look awful. The spaceship and thingy shots, I'm sure they've taken shots from Battle Beyond the Stars in a few bits. It certainly looks like it. It looks like it's from that era of film. Now, Talisa Soto is a wonderful looking individual. She's very, very attractive. She's not entirely a bad actress. She's quite good. She hasn't won any awards, but she's not bad. And that shines through in her role within this film. She is likeable in it, in the role of Vampirella. However, she hasn't got the physicality for the character. Now, some people might consider that to be a somewhat sexist thing to say. What I mean is she isn't voluptuous enough. She hasn't got the body that Vampirella has. Talisa Soto's got a fabulous body. She looks fantastic. She just hasn't got the attributes to fill the costume, shall we say. Now, as for the costume itself that she's wearing, if you look on the back of the box, it looks pretty good. However, this isn't the costume that she wears within the film. No, it's different than that. It doesn't look as good as that. Not that that looks great, but it doesn't look nowhere near as good as that. It looks very loose on her, shall we say. There's some ludicrous moments in the film, in the storytelling even. Now, bits that don't make sense. Now, she first meets this young individual at the beginning who she saves from these muggers, and he coins her name Vampirella. Because her name is Ella and she's a vampire. Now, this is coined after she's left his flat. And then people are calling her Vampirella. That makes no sense. There's other silliness in the film where, you know, when her father's killed, you've got the vampire, their sort of society logo behind them, which is the logo that is worn on the bottom part of her costume, over the crotch area. Now, she's in costume with this on, and Vlad comes from this planet. You see Vlad with the council when the council get killed, and this symbol is destroyed. Yet, when Vlad meets her, and she's in this silly costume, he doesn't notice the symbol or recognise the symbol to be from his planet, this Draculon. So it's very weird in that respect. Now, in the context of the story, like I said, the vampires are friendly. So how vampires come about on Earth is that something to do with our atmosphere is what makes vampires vampires here. As in, when they bite someone, it doesn't kill them, it turns them. This doesn't happen on Draculon. It happens on Earth because of Earth's atmosphere and something within the atmosphere. So that's how they get around that, and why vampires are originally from a different planet. Obviously, vampire lore didn't come about until Vlad the Impaler anyway, and this is Vlad. So it all kind of works into that historical concept of vampires. Just saying that prior to Vlad, vampires weren't on Earth, they came from outer space. So fine with that respect. Now, the action in the film is pretty ropey. The special effects are ropey. The acting for the most part is ropey. Roger Daltrey is chewing up scenery like anyone's business. He is like so over the top and pantomime in his performance within this film that it is ridiculous. The story itself is questionable at best. It's not bad, you know. It's just directed badly. It's handled badly. There's costumes in the film. Like I said about her costume, there are other costumes. People look like they're wearing garbage bags. There's seriously these rubber outfits, or these plastic black outfits that vampires wear that are sunproof, so to speak. They wear them in the sun so they don't get burnt. Yeah, they just look stupid, and I don't see how anyone can act against them and keep a straight face. Total silliness in the costume department, design, and as the film progresses, you get to the final chapter, and obviously Vlad gets defeated by Vampirella, but it's and then the film just ends. The film just abruptly ends, like there's no epilogue or anything. It's literally she kills him, she stood there, end of film. Yeah, so not a very good film at all for a character that is quite enjoyable, but there we go. I mean, Talisa Soto, like I said, she's pretty good in the film. But anyway, let me talk about some of the background, some trivia. Let me give you some trivia about the movie. Trivia time. Okay, a Vampirella film project had been in development for a number of years. Hammer Films was originally going to release the film in 1976, with actresses such as Caroline Munro and Valerie Leon being considered for the title role. Peter Cushing was also cast in the role as Pendragon, as well as Orson Welles and Donald Pleasance in other roles. However, the film was not made. Hammer came close to making the film again in 1978, starring Barbara Lee. Christopher Wicken wrote a script and John Howe was to direct. The film was going to be a co-production with American International Pictures, but then ahead of production, Samuel Z. Arkoff decided not to make the film. In the early 1980s, Peter Guber and John Peters had the rights when they were at Polygram. Film rights passed to Roger Corman and Jim Wynorski. Lee says that Wynorski wanted to cast Paula Abdul in the title role. Wynorski had a friend, Gary Girani, who was a Vampirella aficionado, and hired him to write the script. Director Jim Wynorski later called the film a mess, a film I cannot watch. Everything went wrong, everything. His main concern was the casting of Talisa Soto. Wynorski said, "She's very pretty and she's very sexy, but she's not Vampirella. They forced me to use her. She just didn't have the body for the costume. I should have had Julie Strain, but they didn't think Julie Strain meant anything, so they put somebody wrong in the role." Now, Julie Strain has gone on to be a photo model for Vampirella with Harris Comics. Wynorski later said he should have stopped and said, "Let's just not do this. But I was going to lose the rights in 6 months, so I did what I had to do. At least I got the film made, but I should have said no. It would have been so simple to cast the latest Baywatch bimbo in the part," said Girani. "So now she's a vampire Wonder Woman from outer space with a Puerto Rican accent. What more could you ask for?" The director thought Roger Daltrey was great. The actors were fine. Filming took place in Las Vegas. It was 110 degrees every day, said Wynorski. Everybody was gambling. Everybody was up all night. Everybody was blurry-eyed. There was a thief on set who was stealing money. It was awful. When you see how lousy those bat transformations are, said Girani, you'll realise that we're just a hip little $1 million drive-in movie. It was really a nasty, nasty picture to work on, said Wynorski, and it came out badly too. I wish I could go back now and redo it with the CGI of today, but even then, I just don't ever feel like going back to that. It's got a good Joel Goldsmith score, he said. Given how absurd anything called Vampirella would be, the movie certainly doesn't insult your intelligence, says Girani. I think there's a nice emotional depth to the piece. Okay, and interestingly, a sequel was announced. In the closing credits to this film, there is a advertisement, shall we say, for the sequel, which was going to be called Death's Dark Angel. Also, in 2021, Dynamite Entertainment, the comic company that currently holds the rights to the Vampirella property, announced a new feature film was in development, in addition to plans for television adaptations based on the Vampirella universe. So there we go. A little look at the 1996, carbon 1986 movie Vampirella to Lisa Soto. An interesting piece for sure. Yeah, I can't recommend to go watch it. I really can't. But if it's your cup of tea, then go for it. Anyway, this is AJ. I'll be back in 2 weeks with another movie from the retro years of comic book movie films. Take care, everyone. Hit the subscribe button. Leave me a comment down below if you've seen this film, if you know of this character. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care all, and goodbye.